I understand it so deeply now. And I never had that anger inside me about their inability to be parents. But of course, you feel like, I want parents. We all want somebody who
It's
cares
like being
for us,
part of the group, isn't
loves
it?
us, loves us. And it's something that kind of sets you out from the crowd when they're not present. Deal with questions growing up and why don't you have a mother?
Yeah.
Why don't you have a father? Why don't they do this? You know, it's quite challenging. And I suppose that's kind of eats into your almost hyper independence from a very young age.
Welcome to this week's episode of Be Bad Podcast. So, as you know, last series was the first time we started to introduce gentlemen into the Be Bad Podcast. And I'm so glad that we did, because otherwise I wouldn't have had today's guest. I've watched him online for a while, actually through my friend Olivia. She kept going on about him, so I had to go and follow him. And through his love of dance, his love of food, and his love of helping other people. What a warm soul, actually. I absolutely loved being in the room with him. So I hope you enjoyed today's. It is with the fabulous Edgar William Kirby. Welcome, Edgar. I'm so glad to have you.
Absolute pleasure to be here.
Well, I've had lots of different people on B-Bell, and actually this is only the second series where we've invited the men in too, because I decided I need more information, and information comes from people's stories.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
I always say, actually, when I go on a holiday, like if I'm going on a weekend break with my husband, the first thing we always do is book a food tour, because you learn so much about the history of the place.
Yes.
From the food. Everybody's got a poverty dish. It takes you through the whole history. And B-Bell is all about your history. So where did it all begin?
Does it all begin? There's a question and a half. So I, from a very young age, I suppose, and that's something that has kind of repeated itself throughout my life. But that independence came from having to be independent, I suppose, with parents that weren't really present. And I was fostered at age 4 by my sister Joanne. Thankfully, both my parents suffered with alcoholism.
Okay.
What I came to learn, obviously, when you're at that age and younger, you don't understand that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until kind of my 20s where I came around to that and I understood it as a disease. You know, it's very easy to judge somebody from the outside or judge because X, Y, Z. But essentially, it's a disease. And that's where they were at that time. Okay. And, you know, they just couldn't be good parents.
And how many siblings were you from? How many brothers and sisters did you have?
So I was born with an identical twin, Joseph.
Okay.
Yeah, so he passed at birth, unfortunately. And I have another brother, Frankie. And I have 3 sisters as well. Joanne and Jessie are still with us. And Becky passed in 2015. Okay.
Oh, sad. And so what was the gap? You were 4. How old was your sister when she adopted you?
Yeah, Joanne would have been just in her early 20s.
Oh, wow.
Just married, you know, just moved into their new home. So it was a huge responsibility to take on top of all of that as well. Something I'm very, very grateful that she did, because so many kids end up in the system and don't get that care or support in ways that they really need it.
Yeah. And did you always live in Waterford?
We were in Cork for a few years with our parents first.
Yes.
And then we moved out to a very tiny little village, actually quite beautiful, Kilbrine, tucked away under the Cummer Mountains. Just beautiful out there. A really good, fun childhood. Out on the farm, working every day, hunting sheep up mountains, you know, all sorts throughout the year. There was always something to be done. And I think that fed in a lot into my own work ethic today, just having that bit of resilience, a bit of a backbone, and not being afraid to get stuck in where it's needed.
Yeah. And did all of you obviously were looked after by your older sister, but were all the siblings together?
Yeah, so it would have been just myself and Becky that were fostered at that time. Okay. Everyone else was kind of older and had started living their own lives, essentially. I was the baby of the family.
Yeah, you really were. There's this big gap. Yeah. Like, actually, there's 18 years between me and the youngest sister and my siblings, so everybody used to think she was mine. And my mum would be like, hello, I think you'll find that's my child, you know, because my older sister was 21 when my mum had Amy, which is blessing to us all. But so as a kid, were you sporty, academic? Like what got your goal? Obviously, this sounds like you loved the outdoors.
Yeah, I love the outdoors. But like, used to literally just, once that sun came up, now that we don't see it too much anymore today, but at least it's out there
Not
today.
too bad, is it?
Not too bad today. We're out crack of dawn till nighttime. You know, either doing something, playing, messing. And I suppose I loved physical things like taekwondo. Wasn't so much into GAA and all that side of things. I gave it a go for about 2 years and said, sick of this, get me out of it. Then I started training with a fantastic taekwondo instructor, Mark Buckley. He's still teaching and he was a great inspiration, a great role model. And again, that work ethic came in there. I did fantastic with it. I was competing in the UK in fights and whatnot. But I just absolutely loved it. And I think it was the movement that got me. We used to do these things called patterns. So you go through these patterns of movements. And that really kind of got me going. I was like, this is really cool. Then I started shifting towards dance. So I was 11 years of age and I was mad to go dancing. I was dancing in front of MTV, for those who remember it.
Too well, unfortunately, too well.
And Destiny's Child was on, whoever was on, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, who we all kind of grew up with in that era. And I was just loving it. So I signed up with classes with a beautiful woman, Libby Stewart. She's still teaching to this day.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible, inspiring woman, based below Waterford City. Myself and my friend used to go off every Saturday morning down to her classes for 3 hours, off on the bus ourselves, not a bother. And I started taking ballet then as well with Natalie Van de Bram for a year. So that kind of took me into dance in college and I set up my own performing arts school well over a decade. So I had...
I didn't know that. I used to teach ballet, tap and modern jazz. Fantastic. So I watch you and I'm always like, I love that move, look at that leg going, etc. But so you set up your own?
Yeah, I set up my own school, Kirby School of Performing Arts.
Yeah.
And I was teaching since I was 19 till I was about 30. And then I kind of set up my own thing around age 23, 24. I said, right, I want to go independent with this. I know I have an awful lot to offer the kids. And, you know, it was just beautiful to see the ability. It wasn't just dance. It was giving confidence to kids from a very young age. And it's huge. Performing arts are so important in Ireland. And Ireland is known as a culture for the beauty of what we have to offer here. You know, the arts are just incredible. So it was beautiful to work in that space for so long.
And were you still doing taekwondo and the dance alongside each other as you were growing up? Or did you...
For a while,
someone had to take the lead.
Something had to take the lead. For a while, I'd kept it both. I think for about a year, maybe I had kept it up. And then I kind of just shifted away. I think I hit around maybe 12, 13. And I said, do you know, I'm leaning more this way now.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with it.
That's amazing. And growing up with your sister as your mother figure, I suppose, was it always that she was a mother figure? Did you still have, strong relationships with your parents? How did it work? I know a lot of friends that were fostered by their siblings, etc., and always a different circumstance and a different kind of relationship comes from it.
Yeah. I suppose it's very difficult for a sibling to go from the role of being a sibling to a parent, but it was kind of something that had to be done. So there had to be firmness there. There had to be that strength of leadership for a child and as a role model as well, So I suppose while I was in her care, absolutely, it was very much a mother role that she'd taken on. But I understood that she was my sister,
Okay.
And we still had that relationship naturally.
Yeah.
But she definitely had to be probably a little more sterner than a sibling would be, And that's a huge responsibility in itself to raise your younger sister and brother. So, it's incredible for somebody to be selfless like that, to go out of their way in a new marriage, in a new home, all that change to go, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility here and I'm going to mind my siblings.
Absolutely. And does she have children?
She does now, Adam and Luke, they're both in their 20s now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Love the bones, the two of them.
No, I can absolutely imagine. Yes, absolutely. And so growing up, at 4, she fosters you.
Yeah.
Was there a point in your life, I often speak, I left home at 15 and when I sort of hit my late 20s, I kind of thought, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Or, did you ever look back and reflect, was it the right, you're obviously very happy and a very good upbringing and a very happy upbringing as a kid.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel you missed out on anything?
Naturally, you are going to primary school and everyone's talking about their parents, and there's, parent-teacher meetings, and it kind of highlights that maybe something is a little bit off here at that younger age. Again, didn't quite understand it until began to understand it, I'd say maybe 8 or 9.
Yes.
And naturally, my sister was protecting us and didn't want us to know the harsh realities of things. We had a small relationship with our mum at the time, and it was basically supervised visits on maybe a monthly basis. Those gaps started becoming wider and wider when we would see her. And until eventually it just kind of fizzled out. She'd write letters or send £5 in the post for her birthday or bits like that, what she could manage at the time, essentially. And, even though I had that upbringing, it wouldn't ever come for me from a place that I want revenge or judgment, or I understand it so deeply now. And I never had that anger inside me about their inability to be parents. But of course, you feel like, I want parents. We all want somebody who
it's
cares
like being
for us,
part of the group, isn't
loves
it?
us, loves us, and it's something that kind of sets you out from the crowd when they're not present, and you deal with questions growing up, and why don't you have a mother? Why don't you have a father? Why don't they do this? It's quite challenging, and I suppose that's kind of eats into your almost hyper independence from a very young age.
Yes. And with people asking those sort of questions and that at that young age, I suppose, did you find I always say, what group did you have a graph for? Were you a social kid, or because people were asking questions, did you find that you kept yourself to yourself? Like, what were you like at school? Your extracurricular activity obviously was really busy, but in school, did you enjoy it?
I did. I actually really, really enjoyed school. I had great friends there, and that's the thing about a small country school as well. There was only about 50 students in the whole school from junior, senior up to 6th class, Yeah. So we had these 2 big rooms in an old converted church at some point or something, might be wrong. But we're all in the same kind of room, 3 classes, 4 classes. There was great, support and love and care there, because that's how we were taught in school. There was never, if anything happened, it was immediately dealt with. It was a really good supportive experience. Secondary school, I kept the head down and I just did my work. I had a lovely group of friends. I wasn't going around with 20, 30 people that I would call friends. Even from a young age, I was very careful about the quality of person I'd leave into my life, because I think that's really important for people to look at. And, also the balance of things. Even now as an adult, you have to be careful. I was only speaking to my friend Donal about this morning. I'm working with him. I'm currently his client, even coaches and he coaches, because I want to reshape a little bit, and refine things. But I said to him this morning, I said, one of the questions, how would you change things over the past week? What was one thing that needs a bit of attention? And I said, I need to take more time for myself, because I am up to absolute 90 at the minute between everything that's going on, from coaching, creating content, beautiful podcasts like this, which I absolutely love, and events. It's fantastic. It is amazing to get to this point, and never in a million years would I have even thought 5 years ago that I'd be getting asked to do these wonderful things. But in saying that, have to be able to enjoy the quality of life we've built without just chasing a quality of life that we think is going to bring us eternal happiness.
And it's so hard, isn't it? I mean, you like myself, we create spaces for people and love creating those spaces and to make sure that other people are looking after themselves.
Yeah.
But we need to do that for each other.
Absolutely.
Because we do forget.
Yeah.
Lest we forget.
I've had
the same conversation with myself this week.
Yeah.
I'm tired. And, and then I come and do something like this and I'm speaking to somebody like yourself, and then you'll just give me all this energy and I'll be buzzing now and won't be able to relax at all for about 12 hours because I'll be like, well, Edgar's doing this and I want to do this and this is so exciting. But it is, we get excited by stuff, don't we?
Absolutely. And I get that when you get that buzz off somebody, it inspires you and it excites you. And people in our field of work, essentially, we're driven by that passion for everyone to be feeling great and, doing the things they want to do, but from a really genuine place.
Yeah, and I think that's something, from your upbringing. And I loved when you said actually about the taekwondo and you'd learn like flows, because then obviously moving into that dance area, it's the choreography piece, isn't it?
Yes.
I always wanted to be a choreographer when I was growing up, and I suppose the 360. Now I get to choreograph, events or dance moves, etc. It all feeds in. But for you, I suppose, you did you go to college? Did you do college?
Yeah.
And what did you do?
Dance.
You did dance.
I actually started here with Alan Foley, Waterford Ballet. He was like such a wonderful support and still is to the arts in Ireland. He's a really inspirational man. Just incredible to be able to, and I think that's what it was, to be able to harness that ability and push it forward. And you just don't, it's not just dancing, it is so much more. It gives you skills for life that will just, do you well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And bad knees. But everything that comes to me, when I'm teaching Pilates, I can walk the room sometimes and go ballet, and they go, and I'm like, I'm looking at their bulging L4, L5, and I'm like, jazz, you did tap, your heels are all over the shop. But you can see, because we do all the damage to ourselves before we've hit 20. It's all when you're a kid. Absolutely, it is crazy, and I see the form in people's bodies all the time now, and I'm fascinated by it. Yeah. So did you know then, sort of, how old were you when you got into the dancing? This episode is brought to you by Skin Formulas, an Irish skincare brand created by skin experts and trusted by thousands of customers and skin clinics. Built on science, results, and a deep understanding for skin health, Skin Formulas is designed to help you feel confident in your skin. If you want to know more, then go to www.skinformulas.ie.
I suppose I was kind of jigging around the place at home from a very young age, like we all do. And I think just kind of around 11 where I made that commitment to go and take those classes.
And was there many other guys doing, because I know I went to the Richmond Ballet School and like we had one guy, there was 300 of us. And there was one guy training with us. Yeah. James, his name was. We were all obsessed with him because he was so good. We were like, oh, it's James in my group. He's going to show me up. But it wasn't like, there wasn't loads of guys going into that dance area. So, we really relied on him, I think, a lot of the time. Yeah. Did you find that in groups?
It is always more kind of female leaning for sure. But even in the child group, I think we had maybe 4 or 5 boys in total.
It's great, isn't it?
About quarters, about 20 of us in the class, But what I loved was it was so like that thing we were talking about, taking time for yourself. Yeah. It's that creativity and openness without expectation. I find now that no matter what you're doing in life, because everything has gotten so insanely expensive, even the hobbies that we love now almost have to become monetized so we can find joy. It's a monetization of joy so we can actually have some joy without, not being able to pay our bills.
Yeah. And that's so important. Like I often, people say, what do you do for a living? And I say everything that I like to do because that's how the best businesses are created. Yeah. But did you know, I suppose, you're doing dance, you create your own dance studio, you're teaching other people and giving them the joy that they're looking for. Yeah. Where did you want it to go, I suppose, at that time in your 20s?
I suppose the progression was pretty impressive as it was. Yes. I started out, it was from the bank balances for the business was 0 when I started. Yeah. And I slogged for about 6 years, teaching every class under the sun and also getting my own thing going. We were very lucky. Well, we weren't very lucky. We were very talented. And
you worked very hard.
Very hard. We had about 200 students at one point. And that's what propelled it forward. and with all the classes in the area, which is fantastic. So what I did was saved and saved and saved every single penny that I could. I wasn't going out, I wasn't eating out, I wasn't doing any of that stuff because I was adamant to get my own dance studio in the town. So that took me about 5-6 years to gather up that. It took me another 2.5 years to gather up the courage to commit and do it. So the studio opened up, it became free in town. It was perfect, absolutely perfect. So I went in, got it, signed, amazing. And we got the full place kitted out, absolutely stunning. We set up kids' parties, we had catering. Every weekend was like tons of parties and bits. We rented it out. We had all our own weekly classes and private classes. And then about a year in, COVID happened.
Wow.
COVID happened. So I kept it going for as long as I could, paying the bills for about 8 more months. But at that point, it was just hemorrhaging money. And with us being the first to close during that period and the very last to reopen, that was the studio gone. I just couldn't financially take the pressure anymore. And you know what? While I thought that was the absolute pinnacle of what I wanted and my career, it wasn't. When it went, it actually took away so much stress and pressure. Like so much. It was like this weight lifted off me. So they say everything happens for a reason, but I always say everything happens for a reason within reason as well. You know what I mean? So I took the good from that.
Absolutely.
And I licked my wounds. And about 3 months later, I just started into like really getting into social media in a proper way. I hadn't really clue what I was doing in that around that period, 2020, 2021. I was posting that and the other. And during that time, I piled on a ton of weight. I went up to about 22 stone, just over 22 stone. And I dropped 8 stone, 8.5 stone.
Now you're a tall guy. How
tall?
tall?
6'3".
6'3". You're a tall guy. So
Yeah.
Okay, but
I looked like I carried it better naturally because I've got such a tall frame. People are always like, how in God's name did you weigh that?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't look it at all. But you know, when I look at the photos in the past now compared to today, it's like insane.
Different body.
It's insane, you know. And that was kind of the shift then on social media for me to start into kind of just accountability for myself.
Well, I was going to say, did you use it to keep yourself accountable?
100%.
Yeah.
I was like, right, how are we going to do this? And I thought, do you know what? I genuinely thought in my head as well, it could be a really good angle to show somebody day one all the way through. And it was incredible, the following that it amassed, the interest, and how it essentially set up my new career and what I'm doing today.
But when you started, I think the important thing, you know, obviously now you have a lot more knowledge.
Yes.
But when you started, I think that sharing how you got the knowledge was the important piece.
Yeah.
You know, because we all have to start from somewhere.
100%.
So you were sharing, you know, I found this out now and did you do any other qualifications when you decided to sort of go down this route?
Yeah. So in the background, I was studying away for the nutrition and the coaching.
Amazing.
Because I knew that that's where I wanted to go with it. I knew from maybe video 15, 16.
Okay.
I started getting loads of messages and people were like, you've really helped me today by your view on this. You've helped me with the food. I'm actually feeling way more satisfied. You've actually inspired me to get out and go moving today after seeing your gym post. Do you know, it's really lovely. And like some posts, people kind of freak out. They might get 15 likes on a post. You could have 3 people that you're after inspiring that day.
Yeah.
They throw you a little message. Sometimes they won't even bother. They just take it and that's it. You've done your job, you know. But it was huge at that point. So I said, right, studied away, got the qualifications that I needed. And it was another solid 3 years before I ever even coached somebody.
Yes.
Before I ever took it on because I wanted to make sure that I was in a really solid place. I had always had a really healthy, good relationship with food through my dancing. Like I was lucky enough to dance with Crux Contemporary Company, Cork City Ballet. I did tours with acting companies. I was extremely fit, healthy and svelte. Not a bother on me. But then that lockdown stopped me in my tracks and it actually pulled a lot out of the past that I had obviously kept inside. I didn't want to face it at that time, turned to food completely and ended up with a binge eating disorder where I just could not control myself at all. So I got to that point of over 22 stone within about 3 years, like pretty much doubled the body weight, you know.
And with the binge eating, because I I've always been a larger lady, but we talk about food noise and stuff like that, which I have never really suffered from, actually. I'm the opposite. I could go till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the day and then go, I better eat something.
Yeah.
But so is it just a constant want for food, or it's just, it's always for people them dealing with something else? How does it
It can be a constant inner thought for people where their day is basically taken over by thoughts of food, what they're going to eat. They might be just after breakfast, what they have for lunch, what snacks will they have, what are they going to do. I actually did a post on this last night on my social media about weight loss injections and how they are helping people, and my own view on them.
I actually saw the post because it was a good hook, actually. Because I was like, because I'm on Ozempic at the moment. I'm not losing any weight, by the way, Edgar, but I'm trying it. But it caught me straight because it said you started with injections lazy or something, and I went, oh my gosh, Edgar, I'm meeting him tomorrow. But then when you went in and the explanation that you had about food noise was so good. But I suppose I think people can get mixed up with that. So then they think that overweight people are then all have food noise and all are binge eating. But your eating wasn't to do with the food necessarily, was it? It was you not dealing with...
That's the thing. It is so multifaceted. People with weight on them and people with not enough weight on them get so much instantaneous judgment when you know nothing about the person and you can't possibly come to an answer. It's so multifaceted, be it childhood trauma, be it eating disorders, be it that food noise. Some people just have no control. Socioeconomic situations affect food choice massively. Even down to where you live can affect your food choices, your parents' food choices or your siblings. There are so many factors at play, and essentially that's my job as a coach, to get under the skin of people, find out what's going on there. And that takes an awful lot of trust and security to build with somebody,
But I think it makes a difference as well when you have been through something yourself, and so have lived experience of it. And so that empathy is a little bit different.
That's the
thing. You have a better understanding.
What I find, mass generalization, but what I find with online coaches, it's incredibly surface level without any understanding or empathy, and often a lack of a proper qualification or education in the field. You can't deal with people with deep-rooted issues around food and even their self-image and their self-worth with the calorie deficit and a few walks. You can't. It's so psychological. You can't fix psychological issues with practical things until you get into that source of pain. And then you can start understanding it and putting in the systems that will help support that and get them away from it.
Yes. And do you find sometimes people come to you and you have to send them to somebody else first?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that as a coach a lot. People would come to me and I go, oh, I'm actually not a counsellor. So I need you to go and do a little bit of work and then you're going to come back to me. Because I think people get a bit confused, don't they, between the difference between a counsellor and a coach and a psychiatrist.
When you are a coach, the areas that we work in, a little bit of that does naturally come into it.
Of course
it's a huge part psychologically, but when it gets to a certain level, I've actually got a book with gyms, psychologists, everything that a person might possibly need that I know and trust.
Amazing.
And I send them in different directions depending. I've got clients at the moment that are working with both me and a psychologist. They're working with me and a gym trainer that does certain gym plans. I'm not qualified to give people gym training routines. It's nothing. I don't want to.
No.
I'm food, self-care, pillars of support, systems, planning, all of these things week to week. That's how we do it, nice and slow. So they're not throwing everything. It's built up slowly.
I love it. And I love watching you. And I chef for years. And as somebody that cooked for a long, long time as my job, I love watching your demos because you make it so much fun first of all, because
Thank you.
if it's not fun, I ain't doing it.
Yeah, no, same.
It's just not happening. But you give the understanding. I think I said to you before we started today, I didn't know who was more excited about meeting you, me or my friend Olivia, because she's always saying to me, "Oh, did you not see this recipe? Did you not see that?" And I think the fun element is super, super important because we've got to enjoy what we do.
100%. It would be soul destroying if we were just kind of miserable in what we're doing. And actually, I was talking to my friend Audric, the OT coach. He's fantastic.
I watched your pod with him, actually. It was amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
And I was only talking to him about that this morning. It's like, we've both gotten to a place, now I don't want to speak for him, but he won't mind me sharing this. We've both gotten to a place in our lives where we have set up really beautiful lives for ourselves and we just love what we do. Even though sometimes the amount of work is Trojan, And again, that's back to that balance.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it for the world. It brings me so much joy to see somebody, little switches in their lifestyle. When I get those little messages in from clients, it genuinely makes my day.
So do you think you'd be in the position that you're in now, though, if COVID hadn't hit and you hadn't had to close the studio down?
I knew that my social media would go somewhere.
Okay.
I didn't know where that somewhere was.
Okay.
And I kind of had in my mind, to be honest, full disclosure, I was getting very sick of teaching. So for about a year previous, I said to my friend, or not a year, about 6 months, I was saying to my friend Trisha, best friends at about 16 years, love the bones for her, that I was kind of getting a bit tired in the tooth and it just wasn't feeding me anymore. And I said, if I have to teach another 4-year-old how to do plays, I'm actually going to cry. Genuinely. Love the bones of them.
The patience.
The patience.
Oh, God, yeah.
Absolutely loved every second of it. And I have students that have gone off to beautiful dance colleges in London and all around the world. Incredible. But you get to a point, again, coming back to that joy thing, if it's not bringing you joy anymore, something's got to change.
So what does your day look like now?
Oh my God, which one? They're all so different.
Yeah.
A typical day, I'm very systematic with my planning because I have to be.
Yes.
So the mornings I will always spend doing client work, emails, any work with my agency for brands, the Andrea Roach agency, that work coming in and checking that that's all ticking away. Then I will always make sure and take a little break there, go out and get my own gym session done. It's so important for me to have that gym session. That's my hour. That's mine.
Non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. Notifications are turned off. All mine. Then I come back. I start looking back to any messages I've had come in from clients from the morning, information shared. That could be videos, PDFs, voice notes, whatever it may be. I'm very hands-on with coaching. I don't put them through apps. I don't tell them go and do that. It's me and you. We're working together. I don't care what time it is. And I don't care what question it is you ask me, so I'm available. I'm there for them. I think that's really, really important. So then once that's done, I kind of look at the week plan for content for Instagram and TikTok and look at what recipe's up next. That can take anything up to 2.5 hours to cook a recipe, prep it, film it, edit it, post it, caption it. There's a huge amount of work that goes into social media when you're treating it like
as a job.
And a job.
Absolutely. And I think people forget this, it is a job for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when you're given so much free advice and free of yourself, you also do have to make a living.
Absolutely.
And do you find that difficult, because your platform is so feel good, like it's brilliant. It's so feel good. Do you ever get any negativity? I always say with numbers comes strangers.
Yes.
You have, we're talking to Laura lots on this pod and we were saying, she was saying, do I need to get any bigger, whatever? And I said, I quite like small, engaged community. I found as numbers get bigger, some not so nice people can slope in there.
Yeah. I have always had a very healthy approach with that.
Yes.
Block button.
I was going to say delete and block.
But you know what? Also,
you have to though.
I wouldn't do it immediately if they're not being overtly horrible.
Yes.
I get to know them a little bit. And what I found, actually, it's a great tactic.
Yeah.
Because usually within 3 or 4 comments, you've switched it all around. They followed you. I have one woman, I remember it so clearly. She was so harsh on one of my videos. She was ripping it apart. I just said, have you had a hard day? Are you okay?
Yeah.
It's like, actually, no, I actually had a bit of a... And I went from there. She's followed me for 5 years, liking and commenting everything and living her best life.
Yes.
You know, it's funny. I suppose social media can breed this black and white thinking with people.
Yeah.
Where it's either good or it's bad. Terrible way to live in real life or online. So there's always undulations and, you know, different scales. So search it out first. If someone's been horrible, block them.
Yeah.
Get rid.
No, I couldn't agree
Get
more.
rid.
And what's next for you then? What you know, I know we're constantly chasing the joy, and it sounds like you've really found it. And I'm so glad that you've done that, because it's bringing a lot of joy to other people. But what's next for you? What's your next dream?
I suppose I've got the coaching. I've got my first cookbook out. I launched the K30 program, which was #1 in Europe on Teachable for 3 months. The next things are more public events. I did a nice amount of demos, cooking demos last year. This year I've been asked to run the Flavins breakfast in Garden for the Waterford Food Festival. I've got a collaboration with all my food being cooked for people at Mary's restaurant. I'm doing a speech. I'm doing another demo. So all of this really positive stuff. And I feel like it's another step up to where I started.
Yeah.
The absolute dream would be to be cooking on television or have my own cooking program.
Well, the afternoon show, we're looking for a new cooking person. Did you see that?
I saw that.
I think you should be knocking down some doors, gentlemen, knocking down some doors. Well, we would love to see you. Maybe we need to tag them. I'll tag them on this because we'd love to see you doing that.
That's the thing, yeah.
And that's how you want. So if I said, you know, if I was talking about you to somebody else, how would you want me to talk about you? Would it be the cooking, the chefing, or would it be the coaching?
I think a mix of both.
Okay.
Just the balance of inspiration, education, and at the core of all of that is being helpful and being useful. And I think that's where a lot of the mismatch comes for people. They want all of the success, they want all of the limelight, but they're missing that core value that will actually bring that to them. And that is being useful and helpful and become valuable in your arena that you, whatever it may be.
Yes.
You know?
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of lovely way to finish, but we can't finish without asking you a very important question.
Oh.
So let's see what the question is. Oh, yeah, here we go. Name a moment.
Name a moment that completely changed the trajectory of your life, big or small. Oh, my goodness.
Wow, that's a question. I think I know who left that.
Question, isn't it? Who left it? Can you tell us?
I'll tell you after.
100% what we spoke about today.
Yeah.
Studio closing. While it absolutely broke my heart initially, it banged down so many doors, which I actually, to be fair, I banged them down myself and created my own pathway towards this new success.
Do you know what? Yeah. I'm so glad that I got to meet you in person.
Oh.
I love watching you, but can I just tell you have the most phenomenal energy.
Thank you.
Like, I just feel really lovely being in a room with you. So I hope more people get to meet you in person. I will be down at the Dungarvan Food Festival. I'm coming to see you.
Yes.
And thank you so much for today.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you.
So thanks for listening. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this pod, then please like and follow. And pop over to YouTube if you want to watch. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Sian Horn. And lastly, we have some amazing news. All of the BBEL events are now on bbel.ie. So if you want to know more about our monthly events, our meetups, and our amazing, amazing retreat coming this September in Portugal, then do head over to the website and we'll see you there.